Hello Stitchy friends, welcome to the Starlight Stitching Co. Flosstube video number 46. Hello, you might notice that we are in a new location today. So I recently switched my craft room with my daughter's room. My craft room used to also double as our homeschool room, but since I was able to move the homeschool area to another part of the house, it didn't make sense for my craft room to take up the other biggest room available when I hardly have any time to use it. So I have moved into a little bit of a smaller and definitely much more greener space. My daughter's favorite color is green, and we let her pick the color for her walls. Eventually I will probably end up painting it white like my previous craft room, but for now it is going to stay green because I don't have time to paint it, and I have several other rooms that need painted first. Excuse me. So today I have cross stitching and knitting and a little bit of quilting to share with you. So lots of crafty fun. So let's just dive right on in. I will start with, I'll have to flip back and forth between the front facing camera and the top down camera for the best way to do this. And I apologize for the sniffles. I'm dealing with some seasonal allergies. Loads of fun. So I recently finished this quilt. It's called the Gratitude Quilt by Amanda Woodruff. This was a kit that I purchased from her online shop. And it has these beautiful navy stars and I don't know what you would call these other blocks. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it. Coming close so you can see all of these beautiful low volume prints that make up the background. So pretty. I had made some significant errors on this quilt. The problem is that I started it when I was trying to learn how to use my Juki sewing machine. And I purchased the 1/4 inch foot, the one that has the little guide that goes down next to it that you run the fabric along the edge, and that's supposed to give you a 1/4 inch seam. I had purchased the one that fits for that. It was not a 1/4 inch seam. It was more like a 3/8 inch seam. So on a lot of my star blocks, the points are cut off and don't match because my blocks were too small. But then when I finally got back to working on the quilt, I finished it on my inexpensive Singer sewing machine with an accurate 1/4 inch seam. So those blocks ended up being too big. So I had to make some modifications and trim them down. There's a lot of corners that don't meet and points that don't meet. But you know what? It's still pretty, it's still finished, and it will still keep my family warm and cozy. For the back, I did what I like to do. I took all of the leftover scraps from the quilt, as well as some other fabric scraps I had on hand, and I just pieced them all together. And I ended up with this strip that goes down the middle of the backing that matches the front. So I just randomly pieced all of my scraps together onto the back and added a few other fabric pieces that I had on hand that were also in the same blue family. And now my back is ready to go. I will probably quilt this one myself with just some straight line quilting on my home machine. And then this quilt will be done. I even had some leftover fabric from the kit to be able to make a scrappy binding for it. So I'm really looking forward to how that's going to turn out. Let me just pop this back up here. I like having a quilt ladder in my craft room to be able to hang up my works in progress. Okay, for knitting, I have two projects that I've worked on recently. The first is the terrazzo hat by Petite Knit. Here's the pattern. And I'm using Noro's Silk Garden Sock Solo, held with some Knit Picks Aloft in the color Blush, I think. It's a mohair silk. Blush, yes. And it is a 72% Super Kid mohair and a 28% silk. Very soft. So it pairs nicely with this scratchier Silk Garden Solo. And I am currently at the point where I am joining my, how do we describe this? So you knit it into like an 8-inch long tube, and then you fold it up and you join the bottom to the top. So I did a provisional cast on with this purple yarn, and I'm now just slowly pulling that off and knitting the two parts together. That way the brim is a double thickness of this pretty yarn. So that's where I'm at. Try to make sure I don't drop any stitches. The yarn is oh so pretty. Look at all these beautiful colors in here. So nice. I love it. And I just keep this in my purse. This is a great purse project to work on now and then. Hold please. I'm dropping stitches. Gotta fix one real quick. I thought I had them all pushed back on the needle far enough. Guess not. There we go. So pretty. I'm looking forward to seeing it done. It's all nice and cozy. I keep this in my purse, so I have it handy anytime I'm out and about and I'm bored. And this is just in a little cloth project bag that I made with a couple of fat quarters of fabric. My next knitting project is the Violetta cardigan. I haven't done a ton on this. So here's the pattern by Vert and Rose. I talked a lot about this pattern last time and the difficulties I was having with it. But right now I'm on Sleeve Island. So I've done a little bit more work on the sleeves. I don't recall where I was last. I'm pretty sure I've done at least like 3 repeats. 3 of these little flower repeats. I should put a stitch marker in. That would be smart. But I'm just working on the sleeve. The hand-dyed yarn is giving me a little bit of a spiral effect as the colors pool, but that is what hand-dyed yarn does. And I like to do my sleeves magic loop style. And then I have my little cabling needle for doing my cables on these flower motifs. So that's where I'm at. Still working on the first sleeve. And we'll see where we get. doing videos every other week, so every 2 weeks, I probably won't have a huge update because that's just not very much time. Okay, so now I will flip to the top-down camera. Okay, I have put a light on because it is unfortunately a very gloomy day today, so hopefully that helps. I have a stitching finish to share. This is Love and Learning by Emily Call, and I did a color conversion on this. It's not an exact one-for-one color conversion. I picked just colors that had a springy vibe and put them basically where I felt like putting them. So I took the pattern as a little bit of a suggestion on the color placement. I did switch the house to blue instead of the pinks and red that was charted. And I decided to make my door the pink that I used for the heart. And I left off this bottom border here. I didn't think it was really needed, but I think it is gorgeous. This is stitched with 1 strand of floss on 18 count Aida. I think it's Cream and Sugar by Fiber on a Whim. I'm not positive though. But it is so pretty, and now I am ready to measure this up and find a frame for it and get it framed and hung up on the wall. This will be perfect in our homeschool area. Next up are whips. So this, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. This is Americana Blue by October House Fiber Arts. And I am stitching this on a 20 count Moonstone Aida from Atomic Ranch. And I am using Weeks Dye Works Blue Bonnet thread. This is such a fun monochromatic stitch. I work on it every Sunday. And this is how far I've gotten. So I started about mid-January. I'd have to count to see how many Sundays it is. But I think since the last time I showed it, I finished this little leafy border, which for a while I struggled on how to efficiently stitch this. I was stitching like 1x at a time. But when I got down to about here, I realized that I could just stitch this portion and do the zigzag down and then do the other side up. And that made it go much faster. And then this last Sunday, I worked on this star and these berries over here. So I have to finish this berry, and there's one more. And then there's a border that goes across the bottom. I think that's the direction that I'm going to go before filling in this area here. But this is so pretty. I love it. And I can't believe how far I've been able to get by just working on it on Sundays. Sunday is the day I have the most amount of time to stitch, but it's still not all day long by any means. This next one I am really close to a finish on. This is, let me zoom back in. Whoops. There we go. This is This I Know by Plum Street Samplers. And I am using at least mostly called for colors on this. All I have left to do here is fill in the grass. That's it. And then this one will be done, and I'm so excited. So I've gotten a little bit more work done on filling in the grass, and I'll just keep plugging away until it's totally finished. This next one was a Whip Wheel Wednesday pull. So this is a Dimensions Gold kit, a really old kit. I've had this as a whip for 20 plus years, and I just haven't put that much time into it. It's one of those really detailed patterns where you really have to sit down at a table, have all the floss in front of you, look at it, and it just takes a lot of concentration. And that's not usually the amount of time or brain capacity that I have to spend on that. I usually want something a little bit easier to work on, to just pick up and go. So that's why this hasn't seen as much love. But I did get all of the snow put in over here. So this is as far as the snow goes on this side, as well as up through here. And there's a little bit more that continues on over here before I can continue with the branches. Once I get that done, I think it's just back stitch. There's a little bit over here that I have to fill in that I noticed. But I think the rest of it is really just a lot of backstitch, which backstitch goes quickly and it adds so much detail. So it's totally worth the effort. And I look forward to someday having this done. But I really appreciate the Whip Wheel Wednesday. It's just fun to spin the wheel and be surprised as to what you're going to work on the next week. This next one is my Whip Wheel Wednesday pull for last week. So surprisingly, even though we've been doing Whip Wheel Wednesday only since mid-January, or I have anyway, this one has been pulled twice. So this last Wednesday, Roses for Ruby was pulled again. I'm stitching this on I think it's a 28 count Weeks Dye Works linen. It's a pale pink, very pretty. And I did change up the colors to make the roses more pink than the red that's charted. And I am just doing this bouquet and the vase that's in the center. And I think I'm going to try to find an oval frame to put it in when it's finished. Either way, this last Wednesday I was able to add these two rosebuds and leaves and get them completely finished. And this is looking so pretty. I'm really thrilled with it. It almost makes me want to just focus on it and knock it out so I can get it done and have it framed. My next whip is Libiscornu and Rose. This was a kit that I received from a class held by, or taught by Julia Manfredini at the Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher Retreat in 2023, I believe. So I finished the top part and I've been working on the bottom. The bottom is the same as this top part, just some of the colors are switched around. And that's where I'm at on this one. My last whip that I have to share is, you can tell how long this has been a whip, from the 2022 Christmas Club by Shannon Christine Designs. It's the 12 Days of Christmas Day 1 that I'm working on. And I pulled this out recently thinking that it would be something that I could get finished quickly, not realizing quite how much I have left to stitch on it. But I was able to add the green to the branches. I think I finished some of the branches. And then I started to work on this white area around the one. And then I'll probably go ahead and get the white border in before I continue filling in everything else. And I didn't realize it, but there are beads on this as well. I'm sure I have the beads. I just didn't remember that, which it's going to be stunning. Also, these are going to be some pretty big ornaments because it's going to be, what, like about that big finished. So I'm going to have 12 chunky ornaments on the tree if I ever get all of them done. But the first one is well on its way. Okay, the only other whip I have to share is another quilting whip. And this is the Laura's Log Cabin quilt by Modern Prairie, and it uses the Evening on the Prairie fabric. This was a kit. Oops, sorry. This is a kit that was sold at, well, a lot of quilt stores, but I purchased mine from Fat Quarter Shop. And it came in this lovely box that looks like a cabin. And I just loved the ombre effect of the prints in this quilt. The pictures are so stunning and the fabric is so stunning. So here's some of the fabrics that I haven't cut yet. It comes with everything that you need for the top as well as the binding. I do have to figure out the backing. But what I've been working on so far, and I like to store my quilts in these 12 by 12 scrapbook boxes. So I've been working on cutting out, zoom out. I've been working on cutting out all of the pieces and getting them labeled because there are so many different pieces to cut. The cutting instructions fill up more than 3 full pages in this pattern. So I've been working on getting them cut out, and hopefully soon I will be ready to start piecing the blocks together and I'll have some to show you. That's another one that's gets worked on a little bit here, a little bit there. Put my pattern back in here. Okay, now I will share just a little bit of haul. I did sign up for the Atomic Ranch Color of the Month Club. And I realized that my stash was a little bit low on 16 or 32 count. So that's what I've gone with this year. Do I really need a bunch more cross-stitch fabric? No, I don't. But I was getting low on 16 and 32 and the colors looked really pretty. So this month's color is called Sky. So here's what it looks like on the linen. And here, let me pull them out. So here is the linen and here is the Aida. On the linen, you can see a little bit more variegation. So although I didn't mean to sign up for both, I'm really glad that I did. But this is a really pretty color. I can definitely see using this in some designs in the future. And the only other piece of haul I have is I did order the mini kit from the Tiger Lilies Sock Along. So it came with this gorgeous yarn. I picked the Morning Meadow colorway. It has this beautiful green and tealy aqua and then this pretty soft pink. And then it also came with the sticker, the sock knit along badge, another sticker, this adorable progress keeper. Maybe I'll use the progress keeper on my sweater since I'm not doing anything else right now. And 10 cards that we'll use for doing the heel and toe when the sock knit along starts. So I'm excited to see how Carrie approaches the socks. I've only knit 3 socks so far and only one of them has fit. So I'm glad I finally got to one that does fit, but I'm excited to see how she approaches this and see if I can get a better fitting sock following her tutorial. I do follow the Shelley's, or on my latest sock, I did follow the Shelley's heel. So the way that she, Antique Needleworkers, does her heel. And that worked really well, and I did enjoy it. And I also love these little tins for keeping the little stitch markers and bits and bobs that you need in the project bag. So that's really handy. And I really love it. Okay, that's all I have to share with you today. This video was short and sweet, and that's the kind of style that you can probably look forward to in the future. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you. Bye.